streaming, and then in the work adventure, I'm going to start sharing my screen, and it's just a boring VS Code screen with the text in large. And yeah, and keep writing if you feel compelled to. We're doing our notes from the edge, in which you think about topics on which you are a fringe genius, and stuff that you could share to your LinkedIn, your professional networks, your newsletter, your Instagram, your TikTok, any of the aforementioned uh, uh, voids of the internet. It's fun. What we start these learn to code classes by has anyone touched code recently? Who in the class has most recently coded something? We're talking yesterday afternoon, last night. Anyone? And feel free to post in the box. You can also mic up. You can also post to the YouTube chat. Let me see if I can share this link with y'all. YouTube chat. And I will also put that in the Matrix channel. Anyone coding something? Anyone coding something fun? No? Yes, maybe. I see some ellipses. That's cool. Did I code anything yesterday? Yes, I coded. This person's been working on websites with Claude Code. That's Zam. Sweet. Yeah. Websites with Claude Code. Claude Code is great at websites. This Learn to Code class, we kind of go over our, we right now we're working on a one of our like weekly projects. Sometimes we kind of veer from that template for classes, but this week's project is like a resource finding application. So let's see if we can get this to run. npm run dev. People put in like a zip code, and then our application shows them the assistance, the resources, the community resources that are near them. All right, that's what we have right now. But yesterday, for the first time in this class, we ran out of Claude credits during class on a pro plan, right? And that was interesting for us. Why does anyone in the class have ideas as to why we ran out of credit, out of tokens so quickly yesterday? Maybe if you were here yesterday, yeah, like how did we do it so quickly yesterday? I want to hear your fan theories. I have my theories, and then I'm pretty sure the theories are actually what happened. I think the having Claude do exhaustive research on all of the resources in all 50 states was just the token killer of yesterday. Like, and we started class yesterday by kind of talking about this like bifurcation in strategies of should we have the site be should we have Claude scrape for the data that we're putting in the site, the resources and all these sort of links that we're offering the user, or should we build out a community wherein there are sort of moderators, maybe social workers or community organizers that feel uh, compelled to post the resources in their regions as sort of like ambassadors of those regions. And we decided yesterday that maybe these strategies aren't mutually exclusive, and we can both have the user input links as well as set up some sort of scraping system for Claude to do that research for us. But what we learned yesterday is that the finding all of this data is extremely taxing on Claude. So we kind of that puts a little bit of a stopper on the process of developing this site. But all we have to do is kind of put on our 2018, 2019 hats and realize, like, hey, we still can code this thing without prompting Claude. It just so happened that we ran out of tokens like directly at the end of class too, so that sort of worked out. So and there isn't much of a community aspect of this website. Like, regardless, it's offering assistance based on your community, but there's no like user flow. You don't have a profile. You're not. We wanted to set up like a sort of anonymous reporting system. So that whole thing is not there yet, because yesterday it seemed like most of the work that Claude was doing was on sort of researching content for the site, which is cool, but also I don't think it's what we it's not 100% of what we originally set out to build, but it works, and it gets sort of close. So a couple edge cases that we should probably touch on today, and I'll look at I'll check the GitHub to see if y'all have raised any issues. And then also, like, while you're watching this, we totally want this to be like an async process. You do not need to have been in class yesterday or Monday in order to help out with this application that we're working on right now. This is everyone's Learn to Code class. We are all going to actively be learning to code this thing. All right. Yeah. So people in the YouTube chat are guessing as to why we ran out of tokens. Ran out because of how much work it is to set up all those sources. I was like, this is impossible for just our little team to do, and it was even a lot for Claude, right? Almost more for Claude, right? Like, I think that down the line, maybe setting up systems to source this content is the right call. But here's the thing. What we had Claude do when it ran out of tokens is actually set up a pretty robust catalog of resources that are available, which is awesome. It's not going to have to do that. Again, we do not need to spend those tokens on doing the exhaustive research again, because we can build systems to prevent that from happening. It's just a good thing to know that when you kind of like point your target at research, that token burn can get really exaggerated, and you'll end up with the 4-hour wait time to recharge your thing. But what we did is we developed this database, this inventory of all these different assistance programs. We posted this to GitHub, right? This is open source. This is information that other people can look through, right? I don't know exactly how Claude is storing these files. It's still in these like monolith JSONs, all right? Gross. But these JSONs, are they in our GitHub? I think so. Let's see. Source, where was I looking? Prisma seed states. Prisma seed states. Migrations. Seed states. So, yeah, so these JSONs are in GitHub right now. So right now our GitHub is just live sharing the data on the site. This is cool for us because essentially what we've set up here is something that can be used by other people as an API of our site, right? Of this information that should be public, that should be made readily accessible. Like, I don't know, a good question for the class to ask is like, when would you not want this system of data to be public and on your GitHub? Because we could look at these JSONs and you could see pretty basically like how things are set up. So it sets up a JSON file. We have this array of information in the form of strings, name, description, what's referred to as a category slug, which is going to be if we're putting things in this, I think it was used as a foreign key of category, that would be like a link that's then made is like legal. So you could look at things through that scope of category. And then scope is city, URL, ASSD. So yeah, we have all the information there. Yeah. So we have some people in the chat. Seems worth it to run out temporarily to have a base of starter info, though. Yeah, I mean, it was just one day. It was our Tuesday. There's a lot of information there. We were able to finish the class. We were able to have somewhat of an MVP of just the information being presented to users. So I think that also kind of is a good point to make when using AI to code things, especially in the case of like coding something for a community or doing research with the AI. You could totally like shoot for running out of tokens. Certain processes will amplify that token spend, and so to get the seed data in there for so many states, I think is important. But now we can't really, it's like, have we given ourselves the job of looking through all these states? And off the top of my head, I don't know if we have all the states here. Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Florida, Georgia, Hawaii, Idaho, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan. Yeah, we learned a song when I was in 5th grade. New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Vermont, Virginia, Washington, West Virginia, Wisconsin, Wyoming. We don't have Virginia. We don't have a few states. We don't have a few states. I think off the top of my head that we only had 44 states, but I can't I can't remember which ones were forgotten. Hey Claude, which states are not represented in the seed of data that we have? We'll see. I know Virginia is not in there. I don't see the VA. All right, New Jersey, Virginia.
Job is done.
Wyoming. Washington, D.C. is not included. And we don't have territories, so no Puerto Rico, Guam, Virgin Islands. I don't know what AS or MP stands for. My bad. I'm sorry. My geography is not the best either. We're going to learn that as we're working on this. Okay. But I don't really... is anyone in the class from New Jersey, Virginia, or Wyoming right now? 'Cause I'm about to insult you. No, I'm just... I don't, like... I would prefer to not do the token spend on these states right now. I would prefer to actually develop more functionality for the site. Yes, exactly. All right, we have somebody in the YouTube that says, maybe we set it up to finish up the resources for the missing places at the end of class in case they run out again. Hee hee. Yeah, that being said, 47 states, 47 out of 50 states, it's probably not going to run out on 3 states, but just to be safe. Also, these 3 states were probably triaged as, you know, the I don't know, like I mean, New Jersey is populous for its size. What are the least populous states? Wyoming is the least populated state, and then maybe Virginia just doesn't have much. Oh, so AS is American Samoa, and then all right, so Wyoming. Virginia is populous. Virginia is the 12th most populated state, and New Jersey is the 11th. So I don't know why they got canned by Claude. Maybe Claude has state preference, and that's not cool. But we figured it out. Anyways, so 47 out of 50 of the states are covered. This is what the information looks like right now. They're kind of these like gross JSONs. And I don't mean to call these JSONs gross. JSONs are not gross. They clean up information. But we still don't have a database set up for our site. The site isn't deployed anywhere. It does not have a user flow, right? So I am going to kind of pass this over to the class. Let's look at our site, right? So let's actually test out to see what it does for if we look up a Wyoming zip code. Wyoming zip code 82001. What will it pull up for us? Huh. All right, so it still pulls up what looks like kind of, I guess, just like national services. Yeah, so these are national services, so that's cool. So even in the event that we haven't seeded the data for the state, there is still going to be resources listed that are more national. So that makes sense. Cool. Crisis and safety. I like this the tagging system. I think this is clean. You know, we're working with like community resources, so I really don't mind the sort of uh, clean, sort of, you know, not super creatively inspired UI. I think the information is more important than the like art aesthetic of this site, that we're like kind of offering information with clarity is so you know, is this the vibe that I would code my portfolio page? No, but this is not a portfolio page. This is a website that shares resources with people. So if anybody has any qualms with the way things look, though, I'd love to hear them in the comments. Um, and cool. So yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Cheyenne, Wyoming, not really pulling up much, but pulling up stuff. Anyways, so now we want to add anonymous users for a community site. Um, that's gonna get weird, right? That's gonna get weird. What are examples of sites with anonymous users that are safe? That's a good question. Uh, it's just coming up with like it's just coming up with, it's saying Tor. I'm like, that's not, no. What are examples of websites that have anonymous users, where users can post and rank things, and upvote things, but their identities are anonymous, that are safe and friendly, like 4chan, but safe and friendly and community oriented. Pseudonymous or anonymous social ranking systems. All right, so Reddit has structured anonymity because you know, you can use like throwaway accounts. Um, all right, it's saying Blind. Have any of you ever used Blind or heard of Blind? All right, so these people, you enter with your email, and then your email gives context to what you have worked for. So, uh, you know, Amazon employees, Google employees, Oracle employees, Adobe employees. Interesting. Maybe we take a page out of the book from that. Another one is Stack Exchange, pseudonymous, pseudonym. Oh my god, I'm just not gonna say it. But some people like to like have their names attached to their accounts on Stack Exchange because it's kind of a feather that they can keep in their hats when they answer things correctly. Um, but these are questions, right? So this person says that they've used Blind. It's for sharing info on tech companies, salaries, and stuff. That's important, you know. I think it's important to have anonymity, and I also think it's important to do, you know, share your salary and share maybe qualms that you have with workplace related stuff. Um, so we kind of want to be like a combination of uh, next door and is anyone missing a chicken? Next door and maybe blind, I'm thinking, where it's like you know the region that a person's in, maybe their zip code, um, and in my head, and I'm asking the class here because we're building this thing together. I I feel like what was the Cheyenne? All right, so wow, I remembered the zip code for Cheyenne, Wyoming. That's cool. In my head, how this would work is like we'd have like up votes, down votes for the resources that would be posted to this site. Is this like too? Does this make sense? Or maybe like comments, you know? So like you could go to the link for the site. So you could go to the link for the site. This is the FCC offers cheap internet or whatever. And you could go to the link for it, or you click it and then it takes you to a page that's like, yeah, somebody's missing a chicken. We got to find that chicken. We got. I think I know. I think I know. I think I know who it is. Too. That's like a weird thing to say, but you know the chickens in your neighborhood. Don't want to dox the chicken owners. But maybe I do want to dox the chicken owners because they need to find their chickens. This is the thing that we need to think about, right? Privacy is important in certain situations, right? But in other situations, when we're looking actively for community resources, there's no way to transmit a message of offering a community resource and also maintain, uh, 100% security and privacy, right? That's what's like. It's this kind of thing that I feel like we forget when we're building these sorts of systems. It's like, how do we make it secret and private and secure? It's important to think about the cybersecurity, the OPSEC of what you're building. At the end of the day, you want to help the community, not hinder it, right? But you also need to realize that we're creating a bulletin board of sorts. We want it to be accessible, right? Accessibility and privacy are kind of, your town's bulletin board is not hidden, right? It's not obscured from the public. It is something that is out in the open, that is transmitting a message of, hey, look at me. I am offering these opportunities. I am offering these resources, right? So, not to dismay the cybersecurity OPSEC heads, but we are very much like transmitting a communal energy right now, and not one that is like, we need to keep this secret, we need to keep this hidden. That being said, anonymity of users is this sort of like fishy situation that we find ourselves in, because we can come up with hundreds of examples of where that goes wrong with online communities, and very few examples in which pseudonymity, anonymity on the internet actually ends up working for the community in a productive way. But that being said, in the case of blind, this example that I just found out today, yeah, wouldn't you want your if you weren't feeling the place that you're working at and you wanted to post on Oracle, 11K laid off over email. Like, this person wants to share something that Oracle did to them that is good knowledge to have for people that may be prospective employees at Oracle, other employees at Oracle, even the higher ups at Oracle need to see that people are sick and tired of getting laid off. anyways, that gets into, a whole other aspect of things. But I do believe that part of our sort of like free assistance resource, community resource, stemmed from an issue one of you was having, I forget, with uh, HOA, right? Homeowners Association. So it's like, you know, do you want your name to be attached to uh, qualms that you have with housing or your landlord? No, probably not. Definitely not on the internet. Definitely not on the bulletin board for everyone to see. Um, so that's why we're kind of like in this discussion about how to keep things anonymous. So, uh, with all of this in mind, we haven't even popped open Claude yet, only to audit how many states we actually figured out. So, we're doing we're dangerously skipping perms. Um, is somebody's mic on? Do you want to say something?
Yeah, I was sorry. I was waiting for a time to come in. So yeah, I was thinking that it would be one of the really helpful things would be for people to be able to leave comments on a resource and kind of talk about how it went for them. Like they could be like, "Oh, like, like this was great. They like set me up. Like you have to, ask for this sort of assistance or something." Or like warnings like, "Hey, I went on Wednesday and they were not very helpful. Those are really busy days." Like those sorts of comments and feedback on the program itself. That way people can kind of look through them. And I guess similar to Reddit, it's like upvote relevant ones. And then maybe like in it, you can also like, it's like, give feedback on this resource, right? And then you can maybe select like, oh, the link is broken, program ended, looks like a scam, info is outdated, or like this is the wrong location. Like, you can give feedback on the info that was scraped, because I know that I've run into that before with like social services lists and things. Like it's like, oh, this some of this is out of date or whatever. So it would be nice if like people can just upvote or downvote the source, but then also give like real feedback. Um, and then maybe those are weighted, because an anonymous, just like upvote or downvote, isn't as much as like an actual comment and those things being upvoted and downvoted too.
Totally. I agree. I think that upvote, downvote, the ability to comment on something, um, the ability to, just like a full kind of like Reddit style user suite, I think is definitely what this needs. And then like reporting, uh, you know, not only like reporting broken links and actual like site functionality, I think would be helpful, but like kind of like self-reporting of like, oh well, I stopped by this uh, DHS program, not the bad DHS, the other DHS, and they actually are all out of this resource until next month. Would be like a good reference for people to uh, kind of uh, figure, sharing community. And then there might also be certain things that are like seasonal. If you live in a place that snows, maybe there's somebody that's offering free like walk, like snow blowing, so they'll clear your driveway for stuff like that. I think that people need to there needs to be a community of people sort of commenting and engaging with the content in order to keep it fresh and evergreen. And then maybe
Yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, because that leads into another idea that I had. I was kind of doing some brainstorming and stuff last night, but we could also have a leads feature, so that it's like, since we're doing all these automatic scrapings anyways, maybe we have something else that scrapes news articles, or like it's like maybe the user has to click a button to tell it to scrape. But then it can look up like other leads for like new programs or like rent relief, like to scan the news for those temporary programs, um, and kind of like just bring it to our attention so that humans can go check it out and be like, okay, like, and just basically like triage it from there on their own.
Yeah. 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 I think that these are all good ideas. All right, Claude, we want to build out a user system now that will be sort of similar to Reddit, in which the users can upvote or downvote specific uh, uh, like resources from regions, and there should also be a comment section on those resources. We encourage users to be uh, pseudonymous in their accounts, um, to protect their identity, but we need some sort of context for who they are, possibly using their zip code to identify them. I don't know. I don't know how you feel about this or what the best way to do this is. Um, uh, also, would love for there to be like regional calendars or some sort of lead uh, posting, uh, regional bulletin board situations, i.e., this person's having a clothing swap, a free clothing swap, or this person's has, or this restaurant gives out free food at the end of the night and is looking for a couple families to sponsor or whatever. Uh, does this and we want to build it with Supabase database in mind, and then also have user roles, so that there can be administrators to the site, general users, and then maybe more elevated moderator slash social worker roles in the case that we need that. Thank you. You always thank your Claudes, right? So let's actually see what some of this code looks like while Claude's building this out. So in so we see the JSONs, which is what it's printing out. Uh, in So this is a next JS project. So uh, the bulk of our project lives in the source file. And is this blocking? My head is blocking this. So the bulk of our project lives in the source file. We have app, we have components, we have generated, which I'm confused by, lib for library, and types. So types are classes that are set up. And then these classes are, so like location info is a class. So part of this class is a location always needs to have a zip, a city, a county, a state. And then there's a resource result class, which gives us the ID, the name, the description, the category, the slug, the name, and the icon. So these classes make up sort of like the model of how we're pulling in data, whether it's the specific resource or the location. So it is, by just like nature of being like the default app architecture, using this sort of model view controller MVC architecture that we've talked about before in a learn to code class, in which the model is sort of the data that is both generated on the site and pulled through APIs and scrapers. Um, and then the view, so M model, V view. The view is what we're seeing when we go to localhost 3000 right now, but eventually resource.com and or whatever we end up landing on for DNS. And then the controller is all of the functionality that's stored within the code here. So we have a lot of our controller lives in API. We can see that it's actively building. Like Claude is actively building some stuff right now. We have an API that pulls admins and ambassadors. I don't remember building that, so I'm assuming. But this route.ts, this would be the example of a controller file. And so it sets up this function that is a getter for the API. It's searching through zip codes and different pages, and then it is presenting that information to the view, to the user, right? So we have Claude transmuting right now, whatever that means, and you can see how quickly when you let Claude run with the code that it starts to build code that you may not know like what its functionality is at the end of the day, right? Is it clearly commented? No. Are you versed enough to know what that function is doing? Maybe, maybe not. So when we're vibe coding, when we're using AI to build applications for us, every once in a while, maybe when you burn through your tokens or when you hit an error, or when you're pushing to GitHub, go and revisit the code that's being written and look through it and challenge yourself to understand what's happening with that code. This export async function post, right? This is a basic post function, but would we know that if we just immediately got Claude to write code for us, and we maybe don't have knowledge of like what a REST API is, or what a sort of try catch error is, all this stuff, right? It's a lot of information that we're condensing into an hour here, and then the goal is to build an application in 4 hours. So I think that it's fair if we're looking at this code and kind of feeling like our brain's going to leak out of the side of our ear, because it's like, when did we ever learn this? The answer is we didn't learn this. This is something that previous to AI, you may have gone to a coding boot camp to learn. You might take a class in college on building applications and learn how to do this. But what I'm trying to kind of instill is that even before AI, rarely was I sitting down and typing out a function like this. This export async function post, right? A post function. More so than not, I was grabbing sort of like
Job is done.
boilerplate REST API code, and copy and pasting from a template that I already had set up. Am I the type of person that had this syntax memorized? Clearly not. But some people did, and some people pride themselves on that. And that's not something that I feel like is going away anytime soon. It's just important to know that there's multiple ways to sort of approach the situation here. So, great project. I've reviewed the full code base. Here are my thoughts on architecture. You have a solid negative, blah, 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 blah. Supabase migration. Moving to Supabase makes sense. You get Postgres, built-in auth, row level security, RLS, and real time subscriptions. This replaces your in-memory session store, which is fragile and doesn't survive restarts. So what that means is like when a user is using the site, we don't have memory of what they're doing on the site. Their user's not saved anywhere, which isn't that huge of a problem for the information that we're offering right now, but would become a problem if that user were like, trying to save specific resources, bookmark specific resources. If they wanted to read other users' comments, that data is not anywhere right now, right? Uh, SHA 256 password hashing is offered with Supabase, so I'm covering this right now. We need to migrate from Prisma. Recommend using the Supabase JS client. Users sign up with email. So this is Claude's recommendation on the whole like anonymity, pseudonymity thing. Users sign up with email and password. Email's private, never shown. Then they pick a display name. Encourage creativity, no real name required. They provide a zip code. We derive and show from that zip code publicly, but never expose the zip itself. And then the optionality of letting them add a short bio. So voting on resources, it made a new resource votes table, Reddit style upvotes, comments on resources. That's cool. Regional calendar, bulletin board, extend the existing community. I'd lean towards a separate events table rather than overloading community posts. Roles, admin, moderator. So, questions for you. We do not have the Supabase project set up yet. Could you walk me through doing that and then also access the Supabase client and manage that database for the setup of that database for us? Ambassadors should be moderators. Those are the same thing. I would like Reddit style nested threads. Let's have a event moderation requiring approval, and then yeah, I think that if we're using Supabase, we'll need to migrate the database and user system first. Thank you. All right, so Claude will be working on that. So notice the first thing I said, and sorry for not asking the questions out loud. I was actively prompting Claude, so that was probably a little bit confusing. But I was answering questions that were in the terminal. So Claude's going to give me a walkthrough for
job is done.
Getting this running on Supabase. So I'll open this. So Supabase is attached to your GitHub by default. So we'll start our project. I'm going to delete this project. All right, so click new project, fill in organization, project name, resource, database password, generate a password. We'll copy that and keep it safe. pick the closest to your users. The region is the Americas. We did this all yesterday. Um, Create new project. All right, cool. So that's that. I'm going to save my Supabase password in Notepad off to the side. Um, and once it's ready, go to Settings API and grab these values. We're going to grab this, this project URL. All right, so we'll grab all of this and put it in our Notepad. Project URL. And then there's a public key. And then a direct connection key. All right. Also go to settings, database, and grab connection string. I already grabbed the connection string. Once you have those three values, paste them here and I'll install, blah, blah, blah. Take your time setting up the project and we'll get ready to build that. All right. I am going to pop this terminal out and enter this off screen. Sorry. If you are working on this down the line and you need access to the database, I can share with you the environment variables. I just don't want to do this. Like we might actually turn this into a website. So I'm not going to be sharing the secret keys and stuff with people, with just everyone on the internet. So we will put that there. And Claude's going to start working. Oh, I hear pops. Yeah, good idea. Yeah. All right. And Claude is worky. Right now, what Claude is doing, because you cannot see the screen, is Claude is installing Supabase's CLI, right? So, what is Supabase's CLI? It's so whenever you see CLI tool, it's a way for you to invoke that program from your terminal, right? So I don't want, like, Claude will sometimes do this thing of telling you to just go into the GUI and set up all the schemas for the database migrations, right? So what Claude would do to me is he would, or they would have me like go into the SQL editor here on Supabase and like manually type like select star from users or whatever, you know, like to, and start building out, or like you know, create new table users, and have, and like set up, like it would give me the commands to set up the database. But if Claude is helping us build this program, wouldn't it just make more sense to momentarily hand over the keys to the database GUI and not have to uh, screw around with the actual website. If you feel a type of way about offering the the AI access to your database, don't do it. First of all, you should never feel pressured into using AI for something that you feel like is too risky. But if you absolutely have to, and it's going to make your life easier, um, you do it in these sort of foundational moments, and you rotate keys, right? Um, so you could kind of leverage Claude to help set up the database, and then uh, once it's set up, we create a new password. We create a new private key for the database, and then nothing has access to the database except for you and the team that you share your keys with, right? Again, these are just like rotate your keys often. Uh, Make sure that you're storing your credentials in a place that is safe. Um, Keep track of who you're sharing credentials with, what user permissions look like for the administrators on your site if you're working with a team, um, and have sort of dedicated machines that you use to work on your project locally so that you understand where and what access is the sort of elevated access, and keep track of what state you're working in, right? So far, the site that we're working on has really only been locally compiled. But now that we have this database living in Supabase, we are actually accessing the cloud, and we have the GitHub repository, right? So these you can sort of think of as three different states, right? We have the database living on the cloud. We have the GitHub repo, which is kind of like a local version of our project that exists in the cloud that still needs to be compiled. And then we have our local version, which we're like kind of staging and developing from right now. Tomorrow, uh, I think something that we haven't really touched yet in class is the full kind of end-to-end deployment of a project. So taking this, throwing it up either through Vercel or Hetzner or some sort of creating a hosting server for it, and then attaching that to a domain, right? So that it is a website that other people can visit. Uh, and once we do that, we'll have a fully functioning website that you could point at and be like, look, I built this thing. What happens after that? A lot, actually. It's like we still have to maintain this thing. And then if users start using it, we'll have to moderate those users. And this is something that I've been wanting to work on for a while, and I actually think can be a solid resource for people. So if you're a person that's interested in continuing work on this, once we post it tomorrow, we'll keep maintaining this thing, and it'll be interesting to kind of see how that pans out for us. But at the moment, I think that it's a useful tool, and I think that we can consistently kind of maintain it and work to advance it as a tool. So right now, Claude is still working with all the credentials that I gave it to write the Supabase SQL migration. So it was using Prisma with these JSONs as sort of a makeshift database. So it essentially has to generate and create a database within Supabase right now because it's not just Supabase has no context of the project yet. We have to set up that context for Supabase. So let's see. Has it created any tables yet? No. But it might start making tables. Yeah, totally useful and very worth making. Would love to follow this one through. And I think it's a great open source project. I think it's a great sort of like, look, we built this as the multiverse school, but also if it's something that's posted to uh, GitHub uh, as an open source project, uh, you know, I think that people would be willing to sort of fork and help out and create pull requests. We may see some kind of interaction from kind of newbies to the multiverse school on this project because it's a worthwhile project. Um, and it's kind of like one of those projects that we don't really have much to lose by putting it out there. There's not awesome. Yeah, so you are Jasmine Sage. You're catching the tail end of our daily Learn to Code class. We do this Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Right now, we're building out this resource finding application, which you put in a zip code and then. Oh, but it's cool because it's going to be recorded on YouTube, and you can go back and watch the previous classes from from this week. So don't worry. I see people in the chat like, no, I'm late. There's usually more of us here. I actually am. I like when there's not huge amounts of people. It makes it more intimate, and also the people that are like focusing on this project right now. We're building something really cool here, which is this resource application. So like user put in Wyoming zip code, and it pulls up all of these different resources for community resources, free resources for that zip code. We're setting up a user system right now with Supabase, which will pull up a database and give users the ability to comment, upvote, downvote, report different resources that are offered within their zip code. We want full sort of user flow situation. And then tomorrow, we're going to make it into a fully fledged website. So, with that in mind, we're kind of at the tail end of today's class. What are we calling this thing? Are we using resource? RESRC? Is there a suffix that we would like? I truly hate GoDaddy DNS, but it's cool to use for like looking up domains. So social support. Social support was socialsupport.com. Support.social. That's $619 a year? No. We're looking for like the cheap DNS. And they always get you. Sometimes they'll be like, oh, it's $1, but then after the first year, it's $600 or something. Is support a prefix that we can use? Yeah, these are social support feels like an expensive DNS. Um, it has social in it and it has support in it, which are feel like two SEO words that are um, pricey for whatever reason. Um, local people's page, socialsupport.io. But this is Ascent, but first year only with 3 year term, so you'd actually end up paying $180 and a cent there. Yeah, resource might be the. Let's see what comes up for, because you could have like resource dot support, right? Um, resource dot social maybe. Resource dot me. Resource dot world. Resource dot resource dot support. Resource dot support. Resource dot social. Right? Uh, do we have a preference for one of these? So also, what's happening right now is because I'm looking this up on GoDaddy, there are bots that are actively seeing that I'm doing this that may or may not buy these names out from under me. Uh, and then charge me for it. You know, it's a entire there's an entire world out there of DNS goblins that are just waiting to vampire your project. So so what are we feeling? Resource dot social or resource dot support. Is this even the name that we want? Uh, resource.us. We're using American states right now, so uh,
Job is done.
yeah, resource.space, and it's cheapest, you know.
Job is done.
All right. All right, so now I need to just log into Supabase. All right, well, all right. Cool. Me. Resource.me. Me. Yeah. but more community focused. Yeah, we like that. So now we're in. All right. We're getting to we're past class. So I will. All right. So. What is so Claude is still kind of setting up the super base right now. Um,
Job is done.
all right, cool. So it looks like it successfully did that. So let's see. All right, cool. Right. All right, it seeded. It migrated this database. So now we can see in this like Supabase GUI what our database actually looks like. We have 6 categories. We have we have 6 different categories. We have comments with author. So we have community posts, we have events with author. We have 15 tables. It's a database of 15 tables. So let's see uh, what that looks like from the website view. Do we need to restart the website? Yeah, we probably need to restart the website actually. Um, None of that seems to be affecting the website. Let's pop open. I'm going to pop open. I have to find the secret key from resource. So we are in resource, settings, API. Project settings, API. And sorry, I'm doing stuff off screen because Claude is asking for a bunch of secret stuff that I don't want to make super available to the entirety of the internet. So yeah, generally we wrap up by 11, but today I got kind of distracted, so let's see. All right, so now it's finding some issues with the database. So JSON uses category slug, not category. CSV columns are different from what Claude assumed. Claude set it up. So it has this seed script that it set up. So let's see if, where is the seed script? Let's see if we can find it. Seed script. Seed supabase.ts. So Claude actually set up a script to migrate the data from our site to the Supabase. So it's right now what it's doing is it's taking those JSONs that we were looking at earlier and putting it into the Supabase. So there was some sort of mess up where it
Job is done.
pulled the wrong information or wasn't accounting for a column. Uh, the database is fully set up and populated. You can now run npm run dev, and the app will use Supabase for everything. All right. Npm run dev. And let's see. So what this is going to do, though, is it's going to create discrepancies if you're compiling the project locally. Because, oh, okay, we got an error here, because now we're calling the database. Let's see if we clear cache. All right. We'll copy that. Next.js gives you these like the turbo pack is this framework that allows us to, it gives more like thoughtful errors. So now we can just enter that into our
Job is done.
restart the dev server. All right. All right, so I am restarting the dev server. Yeah, so like that's kind of an issue I've noticed with Claude too, is it has this sort of like state inference problem. What do I mean by that? Claude's really bad at like knowing what context, what state you're working on your project in. Right now, we are compiling everything locally, but we threw in this sort of wrench, which is we now have a Supabase database that's on the cloud, right? And then tomorrow we're going to throw in another complication, which is we're going to start serving this site from, maybe Vercel or a Hetzner server, whatever will handle the next.js of it all. And now it has this local version that it assumes it's working on. There's a live version, which we also needed to work on. And then maybe even a staging or development server that we also need Claude to have context of, along with the Supabase database. And now these deprecated JSON files that have all the information. But I'm not comfortable at this moment just like pulling off the umbilical cord of those hard-coded JSON files and relying solely on Supabase, because we saw with that migration script that Claude was getting some things wrong, right? So especially when we're working with data that for all intents and purposes cost us a lot of tokens to generate. We don't want to just like willingly start like pulling the plugs and cleaning up the kind of drawing room floor before we know what's necessary and what needs to go in the trash, right? I think that the kind of cutting room floor is a good example. It's like there might be some information in those JSONs that we'll need to pull, or we might need to run a full migration again if it turns out that this switch over to Supabase wasn't successful. But it looks like it was. It doesn't look like there's any like user functionality within this. Let's see. So when we look up Cheyenne, Wyoming, American Job Centers. All right. So, how do we know this is in Supabase? Right now, we don't. We don't actually know whether or not this is seeded from the JSON or if it's in Supabase. So, one thing I can do to kind of jump start test this is I can let's find this American Job Centers, and then I will ask Claude, can you give me a SQL command to test this specific resource and see if we're pulling in the correct data from SQL and not from our seeded JSONs? Thank you. All right, so I could write the SQL command myself, but I'm getting lazy and it's towards the end of class. So I'm having Claude do it. But what am I having Claude do? Essentially,
Job is done.
I'm having Claude change the data so that we can see if we're actually pulling from the Supabase. Can you change the data in this, like put some sort of testing thing so that I know that we're accessing the Supabase and not the JSON? Maybe change the name to Test American Job Centers. Thank you. All right, so now it's running the SQL command to test
Job is done.
out. This is what we would refer to as a sanity test. These are coming up alphabetically, I think. So putting test at the beginning of it might have knocked it off and put it. No. Might have just taken it away entirely. Test American Job Centers. Alright. But that is good to know because it seemingly changed the information from the Supabase. Why would this stop showing up after we changed it to test for the Cheyenne zip code? This is interesting because the resource exists and is scope national, so it should show for it. The issue is likely in the API route or filter. Let me check what the resource endpoint actually returns for that zip. So it's something about when we changed the data, it knocked it out of being a valid response for Cheyenne zip code, which is confusing. We might not get to the bottom of this, but we don't want that functionality from the site. That's annoying. I don't know. And it's spending so much tokens just like validating this test for me. All right, so it was a fragile .or filter is what it's saying. So the .or filter why would this be the case?
Job is done.
All right, so now it's giving me the answers. I didn't even have to ask it. The problem was the Postgres get.or filter. So this was the REST API for Postgres with nested and groups. Syntax is unreliable with enum types. All right. So the category that it was in was national, right? So if that's calling the OR filter, so when we replaced it with a proper Postgres RPC function, then that does the scope matching in SQL where it belongs. So we restart the dev server and then we search for Cheyenne code to test this out. Or do we need to restart it? I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, we need to restart it. All right, that's annoying. Sorry, class. But anyways, we got to the bottom of it. We connected the application to Supabase. There's no user flow. Claude kind of like skimped on that, I think. So we do have those models set up. And it's still not showing up. Weird. Anyways, I don't think I'm going to get to the bottom of this for today's class, but that's okay. So now we'll go into Lifeline. Actually, I'm going to ask, can you make sure that all of our credentials are stored in something that is get ignored so that I'm not pushing them to GitHub? Thank you. And then
Job is done.
all right, so great job. Git add dot git commit m. Lots of progress today. Created model for users, but no view or controller. Wired up the site to Supabase. Migrated JSON data. Still having issues with test data. Git push u origin. Main. And yeah, I'm pushing directly to main because we're all doing this together as a class. If you want, build your feature branch, fork the project, post to the Git issues, make a pull request. We're going to wrap this as an MVP website tomorrow. So get ready to actually have a domain that's associated with an application that we built. Will user flow be figured out tomorrow? Maybe. Seems like that's kind of a hefty thing to expect from an hour class. But I would love to see something like it. And yeah, feel free to check out the GitHub. If you don't want to work on this project, code something on your own. Code a line on your own personal project. Would you? Yeah, please do it. All right, thanks for showing up. Y'all have been great. I have been Neek, and I am going to head out now. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesdays.